Good morning, everyone. I'm Michael. I'm going to be your host for this morning's session. Welcome along to our first session for the Report Designer 2025 badge. So a series of webinars are running. I'll tell you more about those in just a minute or two. But this is session number 1. So this is really before we get into the Report Designer. So what you need to maybe think about before you start thinking about making changes to reports, or even to maybe request new reports. It's a very common query, this, and we just wanted to sort of show you what's available really before you get into the report side of things. So that's what we're going to be looking at today. Should last around about 45 minutes. Plenty to get through. Obviously, these sessions are more of an introduction to the various areas that we will be covering. So not too in depth. If you've never touched Report Designer before, these are ideal for yourself. Now, just before we get stuck into the webinar, we run through a little bit of housekeeping, just for those of you that may be new to our sessions. So first of all, you don't need a microphone for these sessions. If you do have one, if you enable it, you'll find you're muted automatically. You can't unmute yourself. So any questions that you have for us, you'll need to pop them into the questions panel. To access that, you click the little speech bubble icon. It should be on your toolbar down the right. Give it a click. It'll expand. You'll have access to that box in the bottom right-hand corner. So any questions or comments along the way, pop them in there. Remember to click send, or otherwise we don't get them. We're really good with the questions, but we do need to see what they are. So remember to click send. If anyone wants a copy of today's slides, those are available to download via the handout option. A link will be included to one of our Help Center articles on your follow-up email. That will include a link to the handout as well. So if you do forget, you'll have it available afterwards. Now, please note the session is being recorded. As usual, when you receive that follow-up email, there'll be a link to today's recording. So if you need a bit of a recap, or if you want to share it with a colleague, just watch out for that one. It'll include links to our upcoming webinars and also to our recordings. So you'll receive that email round about an hour after we finish. Now, for the webinar series that we are running for Report Designer, we have run these previously. So we've introduced them again for this year. Obviously, a new way of receiving the badge this year. So to earn your digital badge, you will need to attend any 5 of the 7 topics. If you want to attend them all, you're more than welcome, but you will need to attend a minimum of 5 of the topics, plus one of the quiz sessions. So we'll be running these sessions, the 7 topics. We'll be running them once this month. We'll be running them next month. We've got the quiz session running twice in each, both in September and October. So plenty of scope just to stagger them out and attend them in little sort of batches if required. Hopefully you'll achieve that as well. The badges, they'll be sent out once we finish the session. So we're looking towards the end of October that they're going to be sent out now. If you haven't yet registered, still plenty of time to do that. Right. Just bear me one moment. Right, apologies for, it looks like we've got an old message in the chat box. So apologies for that one. Angela, you just pointed that one out. So the chat box down the side, if you've got access to that one, just ignore the message that's in there. That's for, I think, from when we've run it previously. So apologies for that one. Just watch out for your follow-up email. It will include the links that you require to get yourself registered. Right, okay, let's have a look at what we're going to be covering in this session though. So as I say, more of the initial stepping stone, this one. So a bit of an introduction to Report Designer, but this is what we're going to be looking at today. So really before we get stuck into the Report Designer in the other sessions. So we're going to be looking at finding reports. Obviously there's a glut of reports available to you. So sometimes that's the most difficult thing, finding the report that you require. So there are a few resources available to you. We'll be looking at filters and maybe using quick search, configuring your columns, outputting to Excel, but also additional reports as well. And obviously towards the end, we'll just explain more about the additional support. Again, we'll sort of outline some of those webinars that we've got planned in as part of this series as well. So again, if you haven't already, get yourself registered. Just watch out for your link on your follow-up email. So you get that round about 1:15 today. That should be sent out to you. And obviously keep your questions coming, but I'll join in with them along the way. And if there are any outstanding at the end, we'll try and pick those up as well. Loads of assistance, loads of help on hand today. We've got Abby, Laura, and Tina. So keep your questions coming. Keep them busy. As I say, we'll try and pick up as many as we can. If we can't answer your question, because we've got over 200 of you logged into the session this morning. If we don't get a chance to answer your question, apologies in advance. We'll just try and pick that up afterwards. So don't worry if you don't get an answer on the session immediately. Right, so let's get started with a little bit of an intro into Report Designer. So reports-wise, obviously there's over 900 reports available in Sage50 accounts. Now that will depend on your version. Obviously, the more recent your version, chances are the more reports you're likely to have. It can be dependent on what we term the variant. So currently there's essentially 3 variants of Sage50 accounts. There's Essential, Standard, and Professional. So the higher up the range you go, the more reports you're going to have available. And it will also be determined by what options you've got enabled in the software. So you might not necessarily have 900 reports. So things like foreign trader, if you've got the CIS module enabled, that type of thing, you will have additional reports available to you. So it's one of the I suppose the common sort of queries, the common issues that people have. I've got that many reports, I don't know where to start. Which report do I run for this? So there's a number of options available to you. So as I say, that common query, you can't find the required report, maybe you're in the wrong module. And because of that, you think, well, actually, I must need a new one. And you contact our support team and say, well, I need a report. I'm trying to design one, or I've got one that's similar, but I want to tweak it. And it's just a case of trying to get you to the right report or layout for that matter. So there's a number of options available to you. Such as the which report article. If you're on version 30 or above, I'm sure the majority of you are, then there is the report finder option, which is built into Sage50 accounts these days. But we're going to be exploring some of those alternatives that you have as well. So before you jump down that route of I need a new report because I can't find what I'm after, we're going to look at things like filters, quick search, configuring your columns, sending that information to Excel. But just going back to, if I quickly share my screen, if I pop into customers, so we'll pop into customers, if we pop into reports, we'll have the various sort of folders, so the way that some of your reports are grouped together. And if we just take age deaths as an example, as you can see, there's loads of them. So over the years, and I think when I started at Sage, there were 3 of these. There was one called contacts, one called summary, and one called detailed. And over the years, more and more have been added. So people wanting slightly different things. So you'll see that second one is a contacts, but it's by where the customers are then going to be sorted by balance in descending order. So one there with the same report, but with disputed items. So there's various ones. Some of them will include foreign values. I've got one there. Again, depends if you've got the foreign trader option enabled within your software. So it's a case sometimes just trying to find the report that you're after. So that's probably one of the most the most difficult things to do in Sage is find the exact report that you need, because there's that many variants of them. So to help you along the way, there's a number of options. First, we're going to look at finding reports then. So if we've had this available for a long time as well. So if we just open my browser and I go to sage.co.uk/help, just to load that page. And then obviously when you do that, it'll give you a choice of products. So we want Sage50 accounts. And what you can do then is if you just type report finder, What I'm after, just to show you, is this option here, which report, finding the report you need in Sage 50 accounts. So if we launch that, this is something that's been around for a long time to try and get you to the report that you need. So it's this new report finder, in here. You just scroll down and you would choose the report finder tool. Now this is something that's now built into the software as well. I'll show you that in a moment if you're using version 30 or above. But if you're on any version, you can use this option as well. Now the idea of this is if you just type a search, so let's say profit and loss. Obviously that's one of the easier reports to find, but if I type that in, what it should do, it'll start filtering the results here to try and guide me to, right, is it the budget report you're after? Is it the comparative P&L report that you want? Is it the departmental profit and loss? So to tell you a bit about it and where you'll find it within the software. So some of you might be in the transactions list and think, well, where's the profit and loss? I can't find it. And actually it's just, you need to be in the sort of the nominal codes area to find that. So it'll just guide you through into the sort of the relevant area that you'd require. Now, as I say, this is something that's now built into the software because it's such a popular thing to use that particular article. So within any of your reports ledgers, so again, we've just gone into customers and then I've clicked reports. And if you've got a Sage account linked to your software, which the majority of you will have, so then what you will have is you'll have this report finder option. And when you click that, it gives you this panel. So this is where the equivalent of that article we were just looking at a moment ago. If I type profits and loss, again, it doesn't matter what ledger you're in, so you don't have to be looking for a customer report. The idea with this is it will guide you. It'll do a quick search. You can just type a question in there if you want to. And again, it'll try and identify what it is you're after. So if it was the P&L report, I can select it from the list and I could run it from that point if I want to. So even though I'm in customers, I can actually, I find that report and it would let me run that. So it means I can get at it very easily. Otherwise, I could have just, if I knew where it was, obviously I could have navigated to that as well. Now, if you do find certain reports and there's certain ones you want to use, so if we just went back to the age debtors, for instance, as we mentioned, there's loads of them available. So if there's always a one that you run all the time, what you can do, obviously flag it as your favorite. You don't need to go hunting for it there each time. And when you flag it as a favorite by clicking on that little star, obviously it turns it gold. All it means is when you come back into the relevant reports area, it should default to your favorites folder. Now it'll only default to favorites if you've got something flagged as a favorite, otherwise it'll default to that report finder option. So if I've got it there, it means that it's listed and I don't need to then think, oh, where do I find that one again? It's there. It just saves you a little bit of time, particularly useful for your colleagues as well, who might be scrolling up and down trying to find certain ones. You do that for your things like your invoice layouts and things like your customer statement layouts as well. Paula, you mentioned your Sage doesn't have the report finder option in your software. Just means one of two things. You need to be on version 30 to have this report finder option, but you also need to have a Sage account linked to your software. If you've never done that before, just get into a help center. That report finder option, when we searched for that one, it did bring up an option for about this new tool, what's built into your software, and it would just guide you through the process of getting an account linked, etc. Right, so easy to use favorites as well. Now, when you're looking at reports, I've got to quickly pick up on this one as well. So when we're looking at reports, one of the common issues is you might have too much information. You might not have enough information. So if I just go back to my standard list of customers. You can see we've got a great big list there. So telling me at the top, I've got 31 records. Now, let's say I only want to include certain records in my report. So I might have a report and I think, well, actually what I'm after, I want something like the customer address list, but I only want it for certain customers. Now, what I maybe don't want to do is, I don't want to go down and say, right, these ones here, these are the ones that I want to run that report for. So if we highlight them and then we go to run a report, it will only run that report based on what we've got selected. So you can see I've got 6 there. So if I went into reports as an example, and if we just choose something like customer details and customer list. So I'm not going to specify any criteria there, I'll just OK that. And what I'll get is my report will only be based around the ones that I've got selected, the ones that are highlighted on the list. So again, it's one way of narrowing down what it is you're after, maybe excluding certain accounts or certain records from the report you're running. So you might think, well, actually, I've got the right report, but actually it's including too much information. I don't need that. So that's one way of doing it, going in to select them. But you might have things where you think, well, actually, I want to run that report, but I want to exclude my zero balance records from that report. So this is where filters comes in. Now, tomorrow morning at 11, we've got Laura, brand new to our webinar team, but Laura's going to be taking you through filters in a lot more detail. It's one of our quick learn sessions, so session will last sort of 20 to 30 minutes. And she'll just guide you through using filters in a bit more detail, give you a few more ideas about what you can use it for. But if I click onto filter at the top of the customer list there, and this is where you can apply criteria. So only certain records are displayed. Now I'm going to set up probably the most common filter and apply that to my customers list. And it's where you want to hide zero balance accounts. So if I just scroll down, won't be too far there. So I want to look for, I'm going to say where balance, and I'm going to say is not equal to, and I'm going to say 0. So at the moment, if we just drag that to a side, we can see we've got some accounts with 0 balances. Now, if I'm running a report, I probably don't want those to be included. So if I apply this filter and close, you see in the background there, rather than the 31 records, which included those with a 0 balance, I've now just got the 19. If I now go and run a report, it would only be based around these ones here, so the 19 records that remain on my list, assuming I've got nothing highlighted. If I did highlight something, then again, it would go back, and in this case, those 3, it would only base the report on what I've got highlighted. But if I click clear, so nothing's highlighted, I've got the 19 records, and it would then base that report on that. So again, it's a good way of narrowing that down. If it's something that you always want to do, so it's a certain report and you think, well, sometimes I generate that report and I forget to exclude 0 balances, then that's where later on in the webinar series, we can start looking at building that into the design of the report itself. So running the report, but saying, right, rather than me manually applying the filter to my customer list, it will just do it in the design of the report itself. So it would exclude those with a 0 balance. So there's plenty of scope. So sometimes there's more than one way to crack the same nut. Now it might be, in this case, filters. Actually, it is 0 balances you want to see, so you can go the other way. You can say is equal to. Apply that one. Again, I'm now left with the 0 balances only. So you might want to identify customers that have a 0 balance. It might be you want to base it around other information to try and identify those customers to include on your report. So again, it's something to think about. How can I get the information, sort of narrow it down to exactly what I want? You might have the right information on the report, but how can I just include certain records? So as I say, Laura's going to take you through filters tomorrow morning at 11. Links included on your follow-up email if you are interested. Do get signed up for that. It's one of our quick learn sessions that Laura's going to be running over the next few weeks. Now, on top of that, the other thing to maybe think about as well is, have you got records that actually you no longer need them to be displayed on a regular basis? I'll just switch that filter off. So have you got customers that are listed? It might be suppliers, products, etc. So have you got certain records that actually, maybe a customer's gone bust, for instance, they've got a zero balance, but they've gone bust, and actually I don't want to include them on any reports anymore. So again, you've got another option. If you go into that, this one here, just as an example, I tick the box to flag it as being inactive. Now, some of you might already be using that. It's something that we covered in our data management sessions. We've been covering it for a while now. Really simple option. We flag it as being inactive, save it. And we've now got, against that county golf supplies, we've got a Y in that inactive column. Now, similar to filters where we're hiding zero balances, you might have a regular customer, just so happens they've got a zero balance, so you want to maybe include those on reports, but these old ones, like county golf supplies, maybe we don't want to include that on our standard reports. So we flag it as being inactive. And you've got this additional little filter option. Take the tick out of that. That county golf supply is now hidden in the background. I don't see it, it's not there. It's hidden, still there in the background, but I don't see it. So it's not on my standard sort of the daily lists that I'm looking at. If I want to see it, maybe I do want to include it, then I take the tick out, I'll put the tick back in to include them on my list, and I can see that account again. But all the ones they sort of your inactive records, you wouldn't want to see those on a daily basis. You don't want to have to scroll up and down to scroll past them. You're just wasting time. So get them flagged as being inactive, take the tick out, and you can easily hide them at that point. Again, there's a recording of that session, but we do have that one. I think we got that one coming up towards the end of this month again as part of our data management webinar series. So if you'd never used inactive records before, great little feature. Start using that one. Well, now the other one to mention, and it's something that someone's mentioned there about selecting multiple records. I want to quickly pick that up. So what I did when I selected multiple records, I just went down and I clicked them. So I highlighted the records I'm after. And some of you will be sat there thinking, well, why can't I do that? Just let me. So there's various options that you might have to follow. And it comes to what we term the list selection style. Now you've got two of those in Sage. Now, the one I've got set up is what we term the Sage selection style, which means when I click on a record, it highlights it. If I click it again, it removes the highlight. But it means what I can do is I can just randomly click and it highlights whatever I click on. Again, if I think, well, I don't want to include that cash and credit card sales on my report, I can just click to remove the highlight. Run the report, it'll base it around the ones I've got selected. Now, if you find you can't do that, what it probably means is you've got what we term the Windows selection style set up. So if I go to Tools, Options, and it'll bring up this window for me. So that was Tools, Options. If you go into the Environment tab, and you've got these two options here. If I switch to the Windows selection style and click OK, it takes me back to my software. And the way it works now is if I look at customers and I highlight a record, it'll highlight it. If I click onto, let's say, this Compton packaging account, and if I just randomly click, you'll see that the highlight follows me around. Now, this is the default way that you will select records. It will just follow you around and you think, well, I need to select multiple records. Now, what you do if you set up as that, you can do one of two things. If I highlight that one, and if I then hold down my Shift key on the keyboard and click onto Malcolm Hall Associates, it will highlight everything from the first one to the end of the selection, as it were. So I've got everything in between highlighted as well. I can also do Control A, and that will highlight everything. If you want to highlight random accounts so that they're only included on the report, we can highlight one, but then hold down the Shift key, and then with that Shift key held, the Control key held down, I can select random records then, so leaving the gaps in between. Now, if I actually release the Control key and then just click on this Edward Stewart account, you'll see that the highlight follows me round again. So some of you will be familiar with that one. Now, if you want to toggle between the two selection styles, just so you've got that sort of highlight options, you can do that. So you just, again, Tools Options. You can choose which one you prefer. So I think because I've used it so long, I still prefer the Sage selection style. It's a bit more forgiving. So that's more of the on-off type option, where I can just randomly click. I don't need to hold any additional keys down. So the on-off type selection method. So remember, if you highlight anything and then run a report, your report will only be based around what you've selected. Right, okay. Now the next thing I want to quickly pick up on is your columns as well. So when you're looking at a list, you might think, well, actually, do I need to run a report? Do I not? You might just want to view information. So you might be running a report just to try and get an information that maybe isn't on your screen by default. Now you'll see on my list here, I've got the last invoice date as a column. I've got that displayed. If you right click any of your column headings, you'll get this list of available columns that you have that you can show or hide. So if I just reset mine, I'll just go at the bottom and just quickly reset it. I'll just set it back to the default. So this is what your default customer list would look like. But let's say I want an idea of when a customer last bought something from me. So let's say I want to see that last invoice date. So if I right click any of my column headings, it will give me a list of the columns that I can display. So there's quite a list of them in here as well. Now, again, some of the options you might not have, just depends on the level of software that you're running. But there's others that you might think, well, actually, I want the last invoice date to be displayed. So I'll switch that one on. I've now got that. Now that might be all you're after, rather than having to go into records or print out reports. So it's a nice, easy one to access. What I can't do is I can't rearrange the columns, just in case you're wondering about that one. I can resize them, so I can change the width if I need to. But what I can't do is I couldn't have, for instance, the contact number or the contact name as being the first column. They are in a fixed order as it stands. Email or print, I might not want that. I might just email everything these days. So actually I don't need to see who I print statements for and who I email them out to, for instance. I'll just right click and I think, right, where is it on the list? Email or print, there it is. I'll switch that column off. I don't need to see that information. It's a bit like hiding records that you no longer need to see. You're just cluttering up the information that's on your screen, basically. Now remember, you can sort your lists as well. So by default, you'll be in account reference order. So you'll see a little triangle on the column heading to show what order you've got them in. By default, it would be in ascending order by account reference. If you click on it again, it puts it in descending order. So let's pick on that last invoice column. If I click onto that one, you can see it's going to put them in there. And they should be in date order then. If I click on it again, what I've now got is I've got them in descending order by date. So I can see the customer that's purchased something from me most recently. So again, that could be quite useful. You might use filters in addition to that to only display, right, I only want customers whose last invoice was, let's say, prior to the start of the current year. So you can apply a filter on top. Now, when you do that, if I put them in balance order, just as an example, so we got the zeros at the top here at this point. So I've got an additional option where obviously I can display information, but I can also sort it. But I've also got the send to Excel option. Now, sometimes, sometimes, quite a regular question, this one, for our support team. I want this information, but maybe you just want it as a one-off. You're just trying to get at that information. So for instance, maybe you want them in balance order, but actually you don't need a report on that one, but that's what you're after. So remember, you've got that send to Excel option. Really useful if it is just a one-off type option. So if I click send to Excel, all of the information that's on my screen there, it'll send that across to Excel for me. Now, it must be the desktop version of Excel that you've got installed. It's just opened on my other screen, so I'll drag that across so you can see the results of that. Let's just close out and I'll do that one again. Now that should open on the right screen now. So if I click send to Excel, and that's the information transferred across. Now you'll notice that it retains the order of which I had that displayed as well. So they're in balance order. Also, it's pulled that last invoice column. So sometimes where maybe you just want that list of records and certain information, if it's available as a column that you can switch on, it might just save you thinking, well, actually, I need a new report or I need to amend a report to include this information. And from that point, you can do what you want. It's just in Excel at that point. It's just a copy of the information that was displayed. If you're reviewing credit limits, just close out of Excel. You might put them in credit limit order. Then, right, I'll send that to Excel. And again, it replicates that in Excel. Again, if you want to apply filters or delete information or whatever from Excel, that's fine. You're just working in Excel at that point. I hope that makes sense. So have a good think about that, particularly if it's a one-off. Do you just want a quick list of records? That could be within your transactions list. It could be a list of from your invoices and credits list, your nominal codes, your customers, suppliers, whatever it is. Can you display that information, sort it beforehand, and then send it to Excel? So really useful option, that one. Often overlooked. I think if you work on the report design side on our support team, that's the type of query you'll get time and time and time again, where people will say, I need a new report to show this. And you just say, well, have you thought about just clicking send to Excel? Job done. Now, when it comes to running reports themselves, you've got a number of options for sending your information to Excel. Send to Excel will send you a list of information here, but there may be information you can't get at that you need. So for instance, you can't display address information on this screen, for instance. So when I right click, I can display email addresses, but not actual address information from the customer record. So where it's a situation like that, where you can't display it on the main list, you've got other options if you can get that information on a report that you're after. So if I go into reports, and we'll just choose something like customer details, and we'll choose something like the customer address list as an example. So a nice basic report. If I preview that one, just run it for all of them, you'll see this is the type of report that you'd get from Sage itself. Probably what you'd expect for an address list. But there are alternatives as well. So in addition, obviously, I've got options at the top here. So I could export it. So when you go to export, you can, one of the options is to save it as an Excel file. Maybe someone else is asking for it. The other options, you've got report to Excel and data to Excel. And it's quite a stark difference between the two. If I send report to Excel, it'll look like the report you've generated in Sage, and it'll be laid out like that. So not very good if you want to sort of apply filters or, based around things like county, for instance. You can't really filter on that one, on that list. But you may be able to get that if that's what you're wanting to do by sending data to Excel. So if I use that option, this will transfer the information that your report is based around across to Excel. So a bit like when we sent the list to Excel, using the send to Excel at the top of the customer list, it's going to send similar information. So then it even puts the auto filters on for you. So maybe I'm after, let's just pick one. We'll choose Birmingham today. I'll choose OK, and it'll filter that list for me. I'm sure some of you will be very proficient with Excel as well. So again, nice easy way to transfer that information across. So have a good think about that when you're after information. Can I get that information any other way? Are there simple options? And the simple options are often overlooked. Can you just display that information, send to Excel, sort, show the extra columns? But have a good look through the reports as well. You can't cause any harm by running reports. All it's going to do is display that information on the report. It's not going to change your data. The only report maybe not to play around with is the VAT return itself. Other reports, when you're going into the reports ledgers, yeah, do what you want. So if you want to see what information's included, etc., you can do that. Right, let's just cancel out of that one. We'll close out of Excel. Again, keep your questions coming. I can see you kept them everyone very busy so far, so keep them coming. We're on until about another 10 minutes, so keep your questions coming. We'll try and answer as many as we can. Now, other things to maybe look out for if you're wanting more advanced reporting is things like using ODBC, where you can actually run queries from Excel itself. That is something that's available. Excel Integrated Reporting, I believe that's still available as well. And some of you may have noticed, I noticed there was a comment earlier about Copilot Insights, which is this option here. Some of you may be using Copilot. Some of you may have heard about it. Some of you may have seen the icon, but never touched it. Some of you might have it, but not even realized it was there. Copilot Insights, again, I suppose it's a top level way of reporting on your data. If I just give it a click. Now you need to be on version 31 or above for this one. Let's see if it's going to work for me today. Sometimes it can run a little bit slow when I work from home, just because I'm demoing via my internet connection as well. But here's a good way of getting at top level information. Copilot Insights, it's telling me 170 sales invoices worth this much or overdue. I can quickly get at that information. So it's providing me with insights into my day-to-day reporting, my day-to-day accounts. So it's giving me that. I can view all of them. You can start drilling down to get at that information very quickly without having to actually run reports themselves. Michael, you mentioned there, is Copilot available in Ireland? Not yet. I believe that's in progress at the moment, but I believe it's not yet available. Not available either if you are on the essentials level, or if you are on the client manager level. So if you're an accountant with the client manager level, you won't have access to Copilot either. For everyone else, if you're on version 31 or above, you should have access to Copilot now. But there's also the option when you go into the report ledgers as well. This is quite an interesting one and something that a lot of development time is going into at the moment, Report with Copilot. If you want to find out more about Copilot, do get yourself signed up for one of our Copilot webinars. We run those about every 2 weeks. We run one of those at the moment. So we'll explain more about the insights and also the Report with Copilot options. There's some great enhancements about to be introduced as well in our next update. So watch this space for that one. Right, okay. any additional questions, keep them coming. We're going to hang around for just another couple of minutes. Now, what I have done, if you have downloaded the handouts, if we just pop back to the slides for a moment. So things like reports and layouts, there's a dedicated area within our help center to reports and layouts. We've included a little link there on how to filter your list, but remember, Laura's going to go that into a lot more detail than what I've covered today in tomorrow morning session at 11. Do get yourself signed up for that one. Using wildcards and searches, so more advanced searching, you can do that in the filters area. And also you've got the quick search option as well, just to quickly help you identify records. So if you are interested, do get yourself signed up for that webinar. Links included on your follow-up email. But if you've downloaded the handout, those links will work for you. Right, final call for questions. Keep them coming. We've got a few outstanding there. We'll try our best to answer as many as we can. As I mentioned at the beginning, if we don't get a chance, apologies for that one. I'll just try and drop you an email later today. So download the handout as well if you haven't already done that. Link to the handouts will be included in your follow-up email because it's part of the badge series. I'm just going to quickly go back to that slide that we had at the beginning, just to quickly mention some of those sessions that we are running. So this one is just almost like to break you in gently to the report designer. Just a quick intro to things to think about before you start looking at reports and requesting changes, etc. So on Thursday this week at 11, we're starting to get into the using the report designer itself. So we're going to look at where most people start, personalizing your invoice and other layouts. So things like, how do you add a logo to your invoice layout? How do you add a bit of text? That type of thing. So using the basic design tools just to personalize your invoices, just that little bit. If you'd never used the report designer before, it's a great session to go at, something a little bit different. We're then going to get on to some of the more advanced topics, so looking at tables and variables. We've got an introduction to expressions, so adding calculations, things like that to your reports and your layouts. We'll be looking at sections and groups, criteria, and also filters as well. So rather than apply a filter to your customer list like we've demoed today, we'll be looking at how you can build that sort of thing into the design of the report itself so that you don't have to manually apply a filter. And of course, there is our quiz session as well. So if you want to sort of earn your digital badge, remember you need to attend any 5 of the 7 topics. If you want to attend them all, you can. If you want to attend them this month and then also next month, you might go away and have a little play with that and think, well, actually, I'll attend the webinar again just to sort of consolidate your knowledge a little bit. You're more than welcome. But the quiz is a good way of testing your knowledge as well. Has it sort of embedded into your mind just to help you develop your skills just that little bit more. Right, let me find the right slides. We're just about come to the end of today's demo. Loads of webinars available though if you are interested. Again, that link's included on your follow-up email. So do check those out, get yourself registered. Loads of quick learn sessions that Laura's going to be running as well over the coming weeks. And if you can't attend the live sessions, we do make the recordings available afterwards. So before everyone disappears, let me quickly thank you for coming along to session number 1. I hope to see you on the other sessions as well. So we're starting to get into the workings of the report designer from session 2 onwards. There will be an opportunity to complete the survey that should pop up as you leave today's session. Please do take that minute to do that. It should take about a minute max. Give us a score. What did you think of the webinar? Anything else you'd like to see covered? So share your thoughts, ideas with us, pop it on there. So a minute max, always appreciate it if you can do that. We love reading those comments as well. Your follow-up email, that will be with you in round about an hour's time. So it's got all the links on, the recording to today's session, links to our registration page, links to our recordings. So if you can't attend the live sessions, recordings are available. Good way to use the service. Just obviously trying to help you get more from your software. David, you mentioned I'll pick up on some of the questions now. So David's just asking about the how secure is the Copilot option. Yeah, there'll be information in our help center on the, if you need to know about the technology and stuff used in the background, yeah, no problem. Have a look in our help center. It's got that on there. For Copilot, there is a dedicated area for that as well. If I just quickly share my screen, quite a few questions came through about Copilot. Why haven't I got it? I've got it, or I haven't got that option. So if you want to find out more, just go to your web browser. If you visit the help center, so remember we went to sage.co.uk/help, we chose Sage 50 accounts. On here, you've got this Sage Copilot option. So get into that. It'll introduce you to it, how you go about activating it if you haven't already, and obviously using it as well. So do check that out. Joe, you mentioned there, how can you save a report once it's been run so that it occurs periodically? You can't schedule reports in Sage 50. So that's something to be aware of. You obviously just need to set yourself a bit of a reminder, I suppose. But this age debtors, for instance, a common report that you might run on a, let's say, a monthly basis. You might run it a lot more frequently, but let's say you run it on a monthly basis as part of maybe your month-end process, then you would just have to come in and run it. There are additional options that can help save you a little bit of time, such as batch reporting. So you might have things like age debtors, trial balance, profit and loss balance sheet that you always run at the same time. You can set them up as a batch, just set that batch going, rather than you sit and running one and then running the next, then the next, etc. But you can't schedule it. I can't say, right, I want this age debtors to generate every month, email me a link. It will not do that for you currently. Wendy, you mentioned, is there a webinar for ODBC reporting function? No, there's not either. It'd be a bit of a niche one, that one, because we get so few questions on it these days. So we don't have that, but there is information available from our help center if you do want that, if you want that level of detail. So again, do check that out from just sage.co.uk/help, choose Sage 50 accounts, and then obviously just search for ODBC. It should find the information that you're after. Right, okay, just about ready to end the webinar at that point then. So many thanks for coming along again. I hope to see you on the other sessions as well. Do take that minute to complete the survey as you leave. If you think of anything afterwards, check out the help center or support teams there as well. If you haven't got an answer to your question, I think we've just about picked them all up at this stage. Then just watch out, we'll try to drop you an email later today. So many thanks, and hopefully we'll see you again.